Does lightning strike the same place twice? I don't know, but FFP surely has. Roma drops Jose after a bad first half of the season, and Jordan Henderson says bye-bye to Gerrard as he dips out after 6 months into the Saudi project. We will cover all of this and more on today's episode. Grab your scarves. We start right now. Welcome into the supporter section. I am Brandon Pasek, and this is episode 83 of the supporter section podcast. Before we get started, make sure you drop a like for us and subscribe if you have not already. It has been a while since we've been on here, so Steve, can you catch us up on what's been going on in your life?
Oh yes, what's been going on? I'm back in school. I registered for some classes, so that's exciting. Taking some Spanish in my little downtime that I do have. Yeah, Nott'm's doing good. I got this sick kit on from yours truly. Brandon graced me with this Bayern Munich kit from 2002-2003 season. Yeah, Nott'm's doing good. Nott'm's doing good. I'm feeling good, honestly, right now. I'm ready to get back in and talk about everything going on in the league.
Yeah, same. It's really been nice to get back on here and see you and hear you. It really does make me happy. As you can tell, my background's a lot different. I'm in Chicago now. I think we talked about it on a previous podcast, but I moved from Columbus, Ohio to Chicago, Illinois, and the move was really smooth, actually. Things have been great. I actually hosted a bunch of our friends here for New Year's, which was absolutely amazing. We had a great time. And yeah, It's just been a great welcome to the city. People here are so nice. It's amazing. I feel like Chicago's slept on still, but enough of the Chicago talk. Let's get into talking about... Let's start with Roma. Roma moves on from the chosen one, Jose Mourinho. He has been officially sacked. What are your initial reactions about this one? How are you feeling? Yeah, if you have any favorite Jose moments before we get into the meat of the talk.
Oh, yes. I have such a soft spot in my heart for Jose Mourinho. I want nothing but the best for him. Even as a Tottenham fan, I feel like Tottenham fans loved him. I did. Maybe not the style of play, but he got us to a cup final. And it's the antics. It's the antics of Jose Mourinho that you gotta love. Yeah, I think one of my favorite Jose moments, it was Tottenham was in Champions League at the time. I think we were playing Red Star Belgrade, or no, it might have been the Greek team. Anyways, Tottenham's playing on the field, and a ball goes out of bounds, and a ball boy comes up to pick up play, tosses the ball to get to Tottenham to throw it back into the field really quick, leads to a goal. Anyways, the ball boy kind of was a big part of getting the ball back in play. Jose Mourinho, hugs this ball boy, celebrates the goal with him, invites him to a team dinner for him to meet all the players and dine in with everybody. All the players are saying thank you, and it's just I don't know, just the simplicity of Jose seeing a ball boy, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I don't know, I love him. I think Jose loves the fans. Every club that he gets to, I feel like before it turns sour, usually he loves the fans. He's endeared to the players as well. So that was a sweet memory when he was at Tottenham for us. Barring, of course, you think of the time when he's at Manchester United with the Respect Conference. That was amazing as well. But you just love him. I love his antics.
He's one of the most quoted managers, I'd say, probably of all time. Probably is the most quoted. I mean, you have 3 times, and what else did he say? If I speak, I'm in trouble.
If I'm in trouble. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's such an amazing quote. I say that definitely monthly. Maybe bi-weekly. If I speak, I'm in trouble.
If I speak, I'm in trouble.
It's such a good quote. He's amazing. I don't know if I have any favorite Jose moments that stand out to me. But yeah, just a great coach. And like you said, has been liked at Roma. And there's a video, you can look it up, of him leaving the grounds after getting released or getting fired. And fans are up to him crying and saying thank you. And he's in the car basically crying and I don't know. He had a real connection with Roma, and I think Roman fans would say the same. But let's talk about the good. Mourinho, 60 years old, had been at the helm of the Serie A club since the summer of 2021 and actually led Roma to their first European title since the Intercity Fairs Cup in 1961, where they defeated Feyenoord in the final of the Europa Conference League. in 2022. This was their first trophy in 14 years as well. So that's a great way to start your career at Roma. Currently, Roma sit 5 points out of Champions League position, and odds have them fourth most likely to win the Europa League behind Liverpool, Leverkusen, and Milan. So that's not bad. And I think that's probably the Mourinho effect, knowing that he's pretty good in tournaments. They also had the third highest attendance in Serie A last year with an average of 62,000 fans. All of them seemingly loving Jose. Anything else you want to add about the good of Jose Mourinho? I know you said the story earlier about the ball boy, but
Yeah, I mean, just even his time at Roma, he was just the fans loved him, and he just really connected with them. And like he said, he was going to be in Roma next season if it was up to him. So I don't know. I just got to applaud Jose's ability to connect with a club. He's moved around a lot in his career, but he hit Roma and just immediately conquered the media and the fans, and really outside of Real Madrid and Barcelona, as far as the media pressure, like Roma, and this is from Gab Marcardi and a different article written by The Athletic talking about how Jose worked the Roma's media and how Roma will be down your throat, and they liked him. So, I mean, just kudos to him for really, we're going to get to the bad here in a little bit. There's a lot of bad, but you got to take it with the good as well. And so I think there's some good memories. So applauding Jose for that.
Definitely. I mean, if you bring a trophy and you get to the final of the Europa League, especially on such a tight budget that they've been on, like Roma haven't been able to spend any money. They've been like fire sailing, it seems like. Just an amazing feat for him and for them. Almost like back when he won, was it the Champions League with Porto or whatever it was. I don't know if that'll ever get replicated again. But anywho, Moving on to the bad. Roma have struggled domestically, like I mentioned in the preview. They currently sit ninth in the Italian top flight. They did lose on Sunday 3-1 to Milan, and that was their third defeat in 5 league games, and that was his final game as boss. Roma do sit 22 points, off of Serie A leaders Inter, while they have just won. They have won just 8 of their 20 league matches to date in the campaign, losing 7. They were also eliminated from the Coppa Italia last week, suffering a 1-0 defeat against their rivals Lazio. This game obviously matters a lot. Mourinho had 6 derbies versus Lazio, consisting of only 1 win, which is a big issue, I'm sure. So that's sort of the bad in that situation. Anything else, Steve, about the bad?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not bad, but kind of mediocre. I mean, Roma finished 6th place in each of Mourinho's first 2 seasons, which historically with Roma, that's just not good enough. And, I believe he finished only 1 point above his predecessor. I'm blanking on the name right now of the previous Roma coach. But, so just mediocrity kind of in there, at least with domestic finishing outside of his European success that we talked about already. But yeah, it's he just wasn't doing it at the time, and I'll even go into this other statistic. Jose Mourinho was in Serie A games was averaging 1.6 points per game, which is terrible. It's actually the lowest out of any Roma coach who's coached at least 50 games since 1992. Averaging 1.6 per game. That is not good. That's not up to Jose standards. I think that's a career low for him as well. I think all comps it's like 1.7. But yeah, that Serie A domestic is, I believe, just kind of what did him in.
Yeah, for sure. So you have the good, the bad, and we're not even going to say the ugly. We're just going to look at the future, the aftermath, if you will. The club did hire a new manager. It's a former club captain, Daniele De Rossi, as the replacement for Mourinho. The team does have the 3rd highest wage bill in Serie A, 2nd highest paid coach in Serie A. That was Jose, obviously leaving now. So I guess the expectation is that they would be doing better, but he was on an expiring contract. What do you think about the timing of the firing? Was it a good timing for both parties probably. Halfway through the season, Jose's winding down his contract, looking like another sixth place finish or so. Coming to the tail end of the season. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Jose, like I said prior, wanted to stay in Roma. Made it very clear that he wanted to stay in Roma. And Roma's owners are based in the US and they're not really vocal, and neither is the club president. So Jose was kind of, I think, just was such a mouthpiece and saying, I want to stay, I want to stay. And when talking to the club, they wanted to wait out to the end of the season, kind of see how things worked out. And to me, this is the club seeing this is the opportune time to, if we're not going to have him on for next season, and if we're not about the philosophy of play, like players like Lukaku and Dybala are in Paredes are win now. Like it's win now, qualify for Champions League. And I don't know if this is maybe a start of a little rebuild or maybe getting some younger players in. But they spent 100 million on transfers for Jose in his first summer in charge, and that's not nothing, right? So yeah, I do think this was the club. They just weren't going to re-sign him at the end of the season, and no better way to appoint a replacement than a club legend, club captain De Rossi. He's not going to get booed, right? It's going to be, the fans are still going to be excited to see him on the touchline. So I think it all just worked out in that regard for the front office of Roma. Jose obviously wanted to stay. I think the worst case scenario would have been it puts the club in an awkward situation if Roma win Europa League, and you still have a high wage on Jose Mourinho, and you don't know where your club is at. It's almost in those moments where you qualifying for Champions League can hurt you, the health of the club. And like you talked about, Roma, third highest wage bill in Serie A, paying Jose a decent amount of money. It's just not maybe sustainable. So the club, I think, saw their out. It was the most opportune time to fire him. So unfortunate for Jose, but I do think it makes sense for Roma.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for all parties, and I think even the fans can understand like the club's not really at like where they want the club to be at as far as performing on the field, but they love the guy. So it was almost, it seems like it was pretty mutual from my understanding and the articles I've read. So I mean, like you said, Jose wanted to stay there, but I think he was very much aware like he wasn't performing, or the team wasn't performing as everyone would have hoped. So when you're not performing to the expected levels, it's only a matter of time. And I think it's only a matter of time until he gets hired somewhere else. So let's talk about what's next for the special one. I think I called him the chosen one earlier, but the special one is his nickname. The special one.
Either or.
He is one of the most decorated football managers of all time, with 26 trophies, having won the Champions League at Porto and Inter. Go watch those highlights of the Porto run. I think I don't know if it'll ever be done again. Maybe that Inter team last year, if they would have won it, like that would have been another thing. But like, I don't even know if Pep could go into Porto and do that. So like, I'm gonna upplay this because like not downplay it. I'm gonna upplay it because it's absolutely amazing what he did at Porto and Inter. He also lifted 3 Premier League titles across 2 spells at Chelsea. Alongside high-profile stints in charge of Real Madrid, Manchester United, and Tottenham prior to Roma. I mean, what's next? I think it's international management, probably, right?
I think so. But the question is, I was surprised when he got this Roma job, to be honest, after getting fired from Tottenham. So I don't know if the international play is because maybe no more top clubs, respectfully, want to go in for Jose. Like what's next? What's the next club after Roma? Right? Is it, Chelsea is stupid, so they might bring him back again. I mean that's what's not out of the realm of their kind of possibility to fire Pochettino and then bring him in. But anyways,
I saw things linking him back to Manchester United even. That would be crazy.
I mean, oops, sorry. But yeah, I mean, that would be crazy. I think international plays where I would go. I think he would love to coach Portugal one day, but I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo playing there right now, they haven't not gotten along. It's just not going to happen, though. I think at Portugal, you look at the France job opening up soon, but, Zidane's going to be there. So it's even internationally, it's is it a Sweden, you know, or is it a like? I think that would maybe make sense, you know. Take Isak, you're my new Ibrahimovic. Let's do this thing. But I don't know. But those top club teams, I think it's going to be maybe a little bit of time before he finds himself in a job.
Mm.
If I'm being honest, maybe a 12-month stint out of football. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
sort of doing what he did. Was it after Tottenham or before Tottenham?
yeah,
Um,
little
yeah,
Sky Sports action.
right. I don't know, man. I think at this point in his career, it's really up to him. I want to say um, he can easily step down leagues and go manage a top team in like a lower league, right?
Yeah,
Um, and like have success there. Like if he wanted to. Does he want to do that though? I don't think so. That doesn't seem like Jose Mourinho to me. I think he wants to be in and amongst royalty and like fame, but not in like a flashy way necessarily, but just like that's where he deserves to be, right? Again, the special one we're talking about, and I think that's why like a international team would be great. Portugal maybe. I wish it was the United States. I'd take him in a heartbeat.
yeah, I would too.
Um, I but yeah, I feel like he's a good tournament manager. Obviously, getting to the Europa League final with that Roma team, how he did it. Um, but again, it's the question of where. I think he would have his pick of the litter if he went down and stayed with club, like went down a couple tiers. Is anybody in the Premier League would any team in the Premier League take a punt on him? Let's ask that.
I think of Wolves as the first team that comes to mind. The strong,
I don't
basically
know.
the Portuguese team that is in the Premier League. But even then, it's you know, Jose has to take this pay cut, right? Like he's made so much money in his career, and I think if he's going to go to a club, he's got to take a massive pay cut
Mhm.
in the Premier League. But is he going to do that? Is he, you know, Jose's always been a guy that you need to spend money for this manager. Everywhere he's gone, he's demanded it, demanded it, demanded it. Win now. So what Premier League team, one, would take him, and two, is ready in that sense to, you know, you know, bring on a Lukaku, a Dybala, or like all these other players. So if let's say he goes to Wolves, it's I want Mitrovic and Benzema or these kinds of players to win now. That's kind of Jose's thing. Is getting the Zlatans, like I said, the Lukakus, the Matic. You know, these
Mhm.
kinds of guys that are established players to win now. Maybe not necessarily building something. So yeah, and his all of his stints have been so short lived recently. So
Mhm.
it's difficult for a club to go out and say, "Ooh, yeah, we want Jose." So the
Yeah.
Porto days are long gone. Maybe in a lot of clubs' minds too. It definitely still happened. Praise to him, but he's turning 61, so he's gonna have to have time to reflect on what he wants in this next chapter.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Premier League specifically has moved on from him. I could have seen like the Nottingham Forest owner, like if he was available, I think that's a guy. What is it? Marinakis would have gone after. Like I think he would have gone after Jose, but like other than that, I'm not entirely sure. I just think the league's moved on. I think that's why international play would be perfect. You don't have to buy any players; they're
Yeah.
already there for you in a pool. You just choose, and that's it. You go and manage. So we will see in due time. Let's move on to Jordan Henderson and the tale of confusion and woe that this is. He is 33 years old, ex Liverpool captain, has officially left Saudi Arabia after 6 months and has joined Ajax. Yes, the famous Ajax. He has reached an agreement with Al Ettifaq to leave the Saudi Pro League and is joining Ajax on permanent basis. He only played 17 times in the Saudi Pro League, recording 4 assists, and that's it. I think I don't know if he scored any. I don't know, but he leaves halfway through the first season. Um, Steve, there's been a lot of controversy over this move. Obviously, what are your feelings? What are your initial feelings about this whole thing? And when you first saw this, like, is it what we thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not Henderson, it's Benzema, getting in trouble with his coach right now in Saudi. Nuno Espirito Santo. It's like being stuck on holiday, just not showing up to training because he doesn't. It's hot. Or Roberto Firmino being linked to moves away. I think these Premier League players saw the number. They saw the number that they would be on their paychecks, and they said, "Oh, Cristiano Ronaldo's there. Maybe this league is going to get some momentum going." But for me, I would say it's Jordan Henderson going from playing in front of Anfield to playing in a league where they've had over 10 games with attendance under 1,000 spectators. The league. Like
That's tough.
that's insane. He had a game where he played with under 1,000. That's insane. So, and it's 104 degrees. It's literally. I'm looking right now. Some of these game temperatures are over 40 degrees Celsius, which is just. It's not a cold, rainy night in Liverpool under the lights at Anfield. I'll tell you that much. I will tell you that much.
Tough.
So I think it's Henderson and these players like having a realization moment of I have meaningful games left in me.
Yeah.
I think I might have made a mistake, and
Hmm.
we all make mistakes. But Henderson getting on a boat to Ajax is a good move. It's a great move.
It's a great move. We'll talk about that in a minute. But
Yeah,
you bring up a good point of these players, especially Henderson. Like I said, he's 33. Somehow still getting caps in England while he was playing in the Saudi league. Do you think like Southgate came to him and was like, "Hey man, you need to switch leagues or I cannot play you anymore"? And he probably came to this realization like the money's not worth it. Like my football career is more important. I have a lot more to give to a top team. Like you said, like what do you think? Like how did he come to terms with leaving? Because
yeah,
the money should be able to keep you there, right? The 104 degrees, so what? Like all this stuff, so what? I'm making astronomical amounts of money to play for this tier 2 side, or they might be tier 1 now, whatever it is. Um, but like, what do you? How do you think he got to this point of making this change?
yeah. I mean, I think you bring up a good point with those with Southgate. It's you have the Euros coming up, and hey, bro, 17 appearances, no goals, 4 assists, and you're 33. And you're playing in the Saudi league might not be good enough, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's different when maybe you're moving to the Saudi league at like Ronaldo. You're 37 years old, 30, 38, 39 years old, however old he is. But Henderson at 33, I mean, you got 2 years left of top football max, and and you kind of pissed it away if you go to the Saudi league to do that, and
Hmm.
do you want to do that and miss out on the Euros? The chance of lifting, let's be honest, England's probably, top, what, 3, 4 favorite for the Euros?
Yeah, they might be the favorite,
It might
honestly.
be the favorite, right? So, I mean, you're giving this up. You're giving these moments up in your career that you will never be able to have again. It's kind of like this weird way of being on your deathbed. Am I ready to go to
Hmm.
hospice care? And you're kind of saying what could have been. And so, not to be super dark about it, but no, I mean, he wants to lift up that trophy for his country. He spent 11 years in Liverpool, and who knows, maybe it's the culture shock to change this out. I mean, I don't know. But
Yeah.
33 years old, it's not young, but it's not that old. And this is Premier League Player of the Year, Jordan Henderson, whether you agree with that or not, however many years ago that was. But there's this bias about him, right? And so he's the England golden boy for whatever reason. Um, so I think the feeling of that slipping out of his hands made made that move to Ajax top of his priority list.
Yeah, and I always think, and I'll preface what I'm gonna say, but I always think he's a pretty good player. Like I think he's solid,
Yeah,
but captaining Liverpool, captaining the England team, like really? I mean, I get Liverpool maybe, but like all of the hype that was put on him from Liverpool fans and like just pundits, like all the time, like Henderson is the guy I would have in my team. I would captain him. Blah 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 blah. I wanna transition into the character of Henderson. I'm gonna quote him here when he was first moving to Saudi. I wanted something that would excite me, but it needed to be something that I felt as though I could add value and do and try something new, a new challenge, and for different reasons. And this opportunity with Steven Gerrard is a totally different league and totally different culture. It was something completely different that maybe it would excite us in terms of the project that was put in front of us, in terms of the league, and using my experience to try to help with that in many different areas and feeling that people value. It's nice to feel wanted. I know Stevie really well. Sorry, I know Stevie really wanted me. I know the club really wanted me to go, and they wanted us to try and build over the next few years. Something that is here to stay and be one of the best leagues in the world. So he's now moved on from Liverpool, right? This club where he basically grew up playing his whole career. He goes to the Saudi Pro League with this massive quote, hyping it up, blah, 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 blah. He's now isolated himself from two clubs, seemingly, right? Like, with his own choices. He also lied about going over there for money.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about the captain of Liverpool, the captain of England, like, this guy's character and how wrong people were probably, like, I don't know if they were wrong to put him in those captain positions, but usually captains are pretty upstanding. This is not that. So let's talk about Jordan Henderson's character and how people will view him going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you how people view him now. Jake Daniels, Blackpool forward, notably one of the first gay footballers to come out in England, talked about Henderson's move to the Saudi League as a slap in the face. How Henderson had reached out to him over Twitter and said, if you ever need anything, I'm da-da-da-da-da-da. And I know Jake Daniels pulled no punches in saying that, talking about what you're talking about. And this is just us talking about it, right? Like, my own opinions don't really matter. Not saying this, but Blackpool's forward, Jake Daniels coming out and saying, it's a slap in the face. It's BS. Everything you said to me, the support, all this stuff. No, like, this is... I'm not going to get into all that other stuff, but this is the point about character. What's already kind of was out there when he made that move. To your point, you lied about the move. Like, listen, you're going for the money, okay? And that's fine. Go make your money. You're a footballer. You're talented. You've built your own brand. Someone's going to pay for it. That's great, right? But don't be, I'm excited for, no, it was BS, right? So
yeah.
To your point about captaincy, I think if he sneaks on that England roster, I mean, he's not going to be the captain, surely. No. He
was the backup captain to Kane.
Yeah. And I don't even think he'll be on that short list after Kane. So, yeah, I mean, you bring up a really good point. And I think it's one of those decisions that I would not be surprised if he's just like, God, what did I do? Like, I could have stayed at Liverpool and maybe not started every game for 90 minutes. But, I mean, Liverpool got lucky. Liverpool got very lucky in how they rebuilt their midfield in one transfer window. That is absolutely insane. Like, there was a space for him at Liverpool. But no, yeah, I guess that's my reaction. It's just, yeah, you bring up a really good point about the character aspect of captaincy. It's soiled your name a little bit kind of towards the end of your career. So I'm sure he's looking for some meaningful games with Ajax, getting back into the England squad, and kind of having that Saudi 6-month period be, oh, wait, didn't Henderson play for the Saudi Arabian League? I'm sure he's looking for that to be how people view his time in the Saudi Arabian Pro League. As quick as possible is what I would say.
I don't think that's going to happen. Definitely not anytime soon. I think it's completely tarnished his character and all of his successes. I think we'll look back and be like, oh yeah, he was good at Liverpool. He captained them to a Champions League and a Premier League title, and then he lied and went for the money, and he's just a bad person. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens after his career. But speaking of this move. Good move for both parties.
My
right?
God.
I mean,
a phenomenal move.
Like, taking the bad stuff that we just talked about out of it.
Yeah.
For Ajax, they're getting like I just explained, a good player, a really good player at Henderson at 33. And Henderson is leaving Saudi to potentially get into the England team for the Euros. Like, a win-win again? Like, what? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, right?
100%. And he's going on a free. That's another thing that was like Ajax is not paying a transfer fee for Jordan Henderson. He's completely canceled his contract in Saudi, so it's a completely new contract, no transfer fee involved, and he's getting slotted into a European giant in Ajax. In that midfield position, where if I'm not mistaken, Mexican international Efren Alvarez is usually slotted in. So that kind of holding mid position. So I mean, and Ajax is a great team, right? Historically, I don't even know where they are on the table, but I'm sure they're at the top and near the Dutch league. So yeah, meaningful games, very meaningful games. For Ajax, just milking the last bit of talent out of Jordan Henderson, and it's a no risk signing for them. So it's perfect. Not very little times do you get to sign a guy for free that was just playing for Liverpool last year. So it's a brilliant move for them. Good move for Henderson. So I'm very curious to see how it works out.
Same. I really am. I guess we'll see. Hopefully we don't hear his name really like until like the England camps, because
The Henderson hate train, baby.
you just know he's gonna get in. I don't know. It just puts me off, man. The whole thing. But
I agree.
let's move on. We're gonna talk about FFP now, which I know is sort of exhausting. FFP stands for Financial Fair Play. It hits Everton again, and now Forest. Everton and Nottingham Forest have been referred to an independent commission over an alleged breach of Premier League's profitability and sustainability regulations. Forest becomes the third top-flight club to be charged with a breach of the league's financial rules and reporting losses that exceed the allowed amount over the 3-year reporting cycle. Everton, like I mentioned, they're already appealing a 10-point deduction that they had earlier this season, relating to the same 3-year period that they're getting charged for again. Manchester City, meanwhile, they were charged with over 100, I think it was like 115 breaches of the financial rules last year. But that case is going to take a lot longer, and we'll get into that in a minute. But under the guidelines, both Everton and Forest are now at risk of a fine or a points deduction. That could be, like I said, 2-point deductions for Everton in one season, which would be insane, and then Forest, which they're fighting relegation. So it's not good for either of these teams, let's just say that. The Premier League statement came out and said Everton FC and Nottingham Forest FC have each confirmed to the Premier League that they are in breach of the league's profitability and sustainability rules. This is a result of sustaining losses above the permitted thresholds for the assessment period ending season 2022-23. In accordance with the Premier League rules, both cases have now been referred to the chair of the judicial panel, who will appoint separate commissions to determine the appropriate sanction. It goes on to say, blah, blah, you don't need to know. But with this, Steve, and I'll stop talking in a second to get your thoughts, the Premier League has penciled in May 24th as the backstop date for any appeal, which comes after the end of the season, which ends on May 19th. This date comes ahead of the league's annual general meeting. So basically, this raises the prospect of teams who are appealing against the potential points deductions completing the league season while not knowing their final league position or even what division they may be playing in the following campaign, either due to relegation before the points deduction, with the points deduction, that's the other teams in the league that they're fighting in the relegation battle. It's absolutely insane, Steve. So please, what are your thoughts about FFP cracking down all of a sudden very, very strictly on these two smaller clubs? And we'll get into Man City in a minute, so leave them out of it. But what are your thoughts about these two teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw it coming with Nottingham Forest. I think we all did.
Yeah.
When you sign, I forget the number of players that they did as soon as they got
42.
to the Premier League. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense of how they lost more money. The amount of money that they spent on those transfers, is insane, and wages and all that kind of stuff. And it worked out for them. Seemingly they stayed up, right? They got the Premier League money to, stay in. If they would have gotten relegated, that would have been insane because they'd still be going through that FFP. And then you're talking about getting relegated from the championship. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I saw the Nottingham Forest stuff coming. Everton, man, they gotta feel slighted against right now. Everton fans has got to be us versus the world mentality. Um, and I will say it adds that extra drama to the season, though. I mean, as a Tottenham fan, I would hate it if it was which Tottenham. I would
Same.
not be surprised if something came out about us either. But I kind of like that's going on during the season. It's just as
Yeah.
it's you know like Everton at the moment right now is above the relegation line, but they could be in the top half of the table if that point
Yeah.
deduction wasn't hit with them. They have 8 wins this season, which is
Bro,
crazy.
I think they could stay up even if they got another 10-point deduction. Like I wouldn't
Derek-
doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Dyche, this is a Sean Dyche podcast,
Sean
but
Dyche pod, yeah.
Sean Dyche podcast, we love you. But that's just motivation just to keep going and keep going. And on the flip side, Luton just sat up in their chair a little bit and said, "Oh,
All three of those teams did.
all three of those
Burnley
teams,
and Sheffield,
Burnley,
were like,
Sheffield." It's the little meme of sitting up with the controller in your hand. But yeah, it's a gift to them. If that's the way it ends up turning out with point deductions for Forest and Everton. So I love drama. I love the drama. So it's if I'm an Everton fan, I'm absolutely livid. I'm like, why didn't you get it the first time? Let me just know what I'm dealing with. But we'll see. And that City's got to be sweating bullets right now. Buckets.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they might be. The one thing with Forrest, I think it's issues over the Brennan Johnson transfer because they were gonna sell him for 30 million, I think. I think probably to Tottenham, like during that window, that 3-year window.
Yeah.
So they could have been under this FFP, these rules, so they wouldn't have been getting in trouble right now. But they sold him like the next window after, which was outside of that period, for 50 million. Because if they sold him for 30 million, that would have been like basically pretty cheap. Like that wasn't his value necessarily, but they would have been like handcuffed. So they chose not to. Sold him for 50 million, but because it was outside that window, those profits don't go back into that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like that's sort of where the issue is. Like I think they're in fine standing, but because it was outside of that regulatory period, it's been a big issue. Last question on these two. I know we mentioned Everton. Do you think if there's, let's say it's a 10-point deduction for both teams, because that's the precedent that was set. So that'd be 20 points total for Everton this year, deducted. 10 points off of Nottingham Forest. Do you think either of them, both of them, stay up? What chance are you giving them?
I mean, you take 10 points from Everton, they're at 7 points on the season, which puts them 2 below Sheffield right now. So they go down to 20th. But the issue is I mean, Luton's got 16 points. Like, you're really going to make up? I mean, you could make up that much more ground because Luton's pretty bad. But honestly, Luton's been playing teams pretty well. They played Tottenham really well. They've actually played City not that bad. Liverpool, like,
Yeah.
I don't. If it's Everton, it'd be insane if they stayed up off of a 20-point deduction. So I gotta say that they'd get relegated. I mean, Forest is only a little bit higher on the table than them. They're at 20 points right now in the season, so they'd go down to 10. So they'd be 1 point above Sheffield. I think both these teams would get relegated, and I think that'd be like so crazy to see, but I think it would be a very dramatic finish. I don't think it'd be guaranteed, and
Yeah, no,
it could be like
dramatic.
the best Premier League season ever by a team for a team that finishes in 17th place.
Yeah,
So I'd love to see that. So
that'd be crazy. Yeah, I'm not doubting Sean Dyche, but man, that'd be so hard to overcome twice in a season. I agree with you on that. Let's move on to Manchester City. The Premier League sets a date for the Manchester City hearing. but they refused to reveal the date. Classic. Premier League chief executive Richard Masters has revealed that a date has been set for the landmark hearing into Manchester City's 115 alleged breaches of financial rules, but he cannot disclose when that is. When talking at a Cultural Media and Sport Select Committee hearing on Tuesday of last week, it was this week. He was grilled by members of the United Kingdom's Parliament, crazy, about the apparent differences in treatment between Everton, who are facing second profit and sustainability punishment within 5 months, and City, whose charges date back to 2009. They have won 7 Premier League titles since then, including the last 3 in a row. The Premier League opened its investigation into City's finances on December 2018 after the German outlet Der Spiegel published hacked emails that appeared to suggest the club had artificially inflated their sponsorship income while also hiding costs. This is what led to UEFA taking them to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, where they then ruled that there was insufficient evidence to support the governing body's case. So City got off with a slap in the hands. I think it was like a $10 million fine, if I remember correctly, because they were not cooperating with the court, which is a classic, of course. They're probably doing the same thing now. But that did not deter the Premier League. Like I mentioned, they hit City with a list of charges in February last year. Let's see. The Masters, the chief executive officer, said if any club, even the champions, had been found guilty of breaking the spending rules for the period to 2023, they would be in the same position as Everton and Nottingham Forest. But the volume and character of the charges against Manchester City, which I cannot talk about at all, I keep saying that, are being heard in a completely different environment. Masters' refusal to reveal the date is consistent with the secrecy that has surrounded the whole entire case since they started the investigation. Anything else in this, Steve, before I ask you some juicy questions?
No, I mean, I think you're covering it, honestly. I mean, I'm assuming something big is happening, right? Like, there's going to be a big ruling, a big result. Like, I think they have everything, and maybe that's why they've stacked it up from 2009. You have Everton fans saying, we're getting penalized twice within 5 months. Look at Manchester City. Why is it taking so long? And I think it's taking so long because it might be the biggest hammer to ever come down in professional sports history on any, and I think that's what we're in store for. Case. Yeah, I think that's what we're in store for. So the last thing you want to do in a case like that is go too early, fire shots too early, show your hand too early. So I think that's the scenario that we're seeing played out right now, which makes it all that much more juicy. But I can't wait to see what happens.
Right. So, like I mentioned in there, they're accused of inflating their sponsorship deals with Sheikh Mansour, who's the vice president of the UAE, and a senior member of the Abu Dhabi royal family. Obviously, there's connections everywhere. And so inflating the sponsorship deals is basically cheating the Premier League, right? Cheating all the teams in the Premier League over this 9-year period, which is a very, very long time. So take all that into account. And I think it's still a very, very big if. I don't know if they're going to get charged. We'll see. If they were to be charged of something, what do you think it would look like?
As far as the punishment?
Yeah, the punishment, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be stripped of. Maybe this is my sports fan in me. It's like stripped of titles. Absolutely. Like, you have to be. Lying and covering it up so intentionally in what they are accused of is. I mean, I don't think that changes. Like, I love Pep Guardiola, and I'd still love him. I mean, he's just managing the team that's put out in front of him. Unless, stuff comes out that he's been involved in stuff, which I don't think would be the case. But yeah, I think it'd be a lot of, soccer fans being like, yeah, we all knew this was going on. It's kind of like the truth you don't really talk about, and it's getting talked about now. And I think it'd be kind of this they really didn't win the treble, they didn't, it happened, but all of these finances that come to be for them to get Holland, for them to get Rodri, or I mean, going all the way back to 2009. I mean, Sterling or Aguero, like all of these things. Like, how deep does this go? And I don't know. Like, I do not know. I've looked into it for sure a little bit, but I mean, until these cases start, until we see what comes out, to the level of it comes out, how high does it go? You know, like you were mentioning Parliament earlier. Like, how high does it go? What people of interest are involved in this? Because I think it's filthy. Like, it smells. I can smell it from my apartment here in Atlanta, Georgia, all the way from Manchester. So I mean, I think it's going to be unprecedented, and I think I think Everton's punishment, especially of 10 points deduction earlier in the season, makes this all that much more appetizing.
Yeah.
It's seeing the prequel before the big event.
Yeah.
And Everton fans, you might not like to hear that, but I mean, you gotta hope that justice is served. But yeah, I cannot understate how, at least it should. This should like change sports. Like, this should like change the Premier League soccer and blow everybody's mind.
It will. It'll make an example too, because this again, like, it's going to be a landmark case. It'll make an example of Manchester City for the Premier League, I think, to also flex its muscle a little bit on these teams that, remember, these teams wanted to go to the Europa
Super
League, or the Super League, sorry.
Yeah.
The Super League. So they wanted to leave the Premier League. So it's like the Premier League's already fighting on that front on things.
True.
So they have to, politically speaking here, they have to flex some sort of muscle on Manchester City to basically scare these teams into submission in a way. Like, hey, we are tracking you, and we will relegate you. And I think, speaking more of the punishment, like, that's what it will be.
Oh yeah.
Like, if Everton was 10 points, I don't know about stripping titles or anything, but like, think of all the teams that they've screwed over. Think of all of the, what's the word? Like, the stuff that they would have to repay, right?
Yeah. All that collateral damage from City doing this.
Yeah, like, think of everything that's happened since 2009. That's a long time. That's a lot of winning. That's a lot of money that they've brought into the club, and that they've basically taken away from other clubs. Not just in the Premier League either.
Yeah.
All throughout Europe. So,
do you think
Go ahead.
could be a situation to where, I mean, not just relegation, but like relegation 2-year transfer ban situation? Like,
Yes.
like 2-3 year
like,
transfer ban. Do they go down to League One? Like, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like two leagues down relegation, and you're like stuck there. Like, you cannot be promoted for like a period of time or something, and like you have to, I don't know, basically have all your cards on the table for your money. Like, you're basically like under high level scrutiny with all this. Like, I think it's gonna be crazy, and I hope justice is served either way. So whether there's nothing or whether there's everything, like, I hope what's supposed to happen will happen.
Yeah.
And they just don't get paid off, basically, like it seemed like they did to UEFA, which is sort of what it seemed like when that came out. When was it? 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we'll get charged, though?
I mean, in general, I think some of those charges, yeah, definitely will hit. But to the degree that we're talking about, I cannot fathom Manchester City being put in League One.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what would need to happen. And that's the thing too. Like, I think the legacy of the Premier League and just English football in general is gonna shine here, right? It's like, okay, City, you're to a lot of teams, to the Arsenal fans, the United fans, Liverpool fans, hell, even the Everton fans. Like, Manchester City, historically, you are so irrelevant to the history of English football. Like, you're not, like, we make jokes about their stadium atmosphere. It's all that shiny plastic club, because that's what like, United is huge. Liverpool's, like, all these English teams are huge. Like, hell, Villa champions of Europe, right? Like, the legacy that English football has, it's like, City, you're gone. And like your point about the Premier League flexing their muscles, it's like, yeah, it's entertaining to watch. I love watching all of City's players play, right? Like, they're an amazing team. But I mean, like, Blackpool was in the Premier League for a long time, and you know,
Yeah.
friggin' Queens Park Rangers, Swansea, Sunderland, like England pumps
It,
out.
it, it can happen. They can drop. Like it's not, and they've been in those leagues before. It's like wouldn't be the first time either.
Yeah, yeah,
But so it's like it's not out of the realm of possibility. But thinking that that will happen because the Premier League
yeah.
definitely benefits a lot off of Manchester City nowadays. They profit a lot of money off of them. My spidey senses are tingling. let's move on. So I think we could talk about that for a long time. Take our tinfoil hats off. Let's get into the title race chat. Currently, as the table stands, Liverpool's in first, Manchester City's in second, Villa's in third. Yeah, I'll say that again. Villa is in third.
That's insane.
Arsenal is in fourth, and Tottenham is in fifth. Only 5 points separate 1 through 5. It's absolutely amazing. Tell me about your team, Spurs. How you've enjoyed the season so far, where you're at now, the 2 signings that you've made this offseason, and players you've offloaded. How are you feeling about Spurs going to the second half of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I feel absolutely phenomenal. We had that great stretch in the beginning, and then we lost 3 games in a row. Bunch of guys got injured, but Madison is on the track to come back soon. Perisic will not play for Tottenham for the rest of the year. It's already been confirmed. He'll actually probably get sold in January potentially. But yeah, I mean, you have guys like Madison that went down. And Richarlison's finally back from injury. I mean, he's scoring goals like crazy. He's at 6 goals in 6 games. That's like a new signing for Tottenham. He scored 1 Premier League goal last year. He's already 6 times that production. So, I mean, there's just... And Ange Postecoglou he does not give 2 shits what team he has on any given day. He is going to play the football the way he wants to play football. And Tottenham will lose by 2 goals, and I'll watch these press conferences. He's like, I'm so proud of this team. They did everything that I wanted out of them today. And, because you're asking, this last game against Manchester United's a perfect example. You're having Skip and Højbjerg, who he doesn't like. Not that he doesn't like them, but they're not going to see the field when Tottenham has their full 11, right? But they go out and do the same job that the players above them would do, or at least they try to, right? And so... I'm on cloud 9. Let me remind you, Tottenham fans out there, we finished 8th last year, and we are in 5th right now, and 5 points
without
off of
Harry Kane.
Without Harry Kane, without the best striker in Europe, without the very best striker in Europe. Yeah, Holland's great, but no, without the very best striker in Europe, there's nobody like Harry Kane. I mean, there's just not. And so you lose him, Son slots in there. You put Richarlison up there. Signing of the season in Madison, and he's going to come back, and he's going to feel like a January signing, which, again, leads me to January signings. Going and get Timo Werner, I'm ecstatic about it. We all make jokes about him skying it over the goal a couple times this past game. But, I mean, we don't need you. You're not a number 9, You're a change of pace winger. That's your role for 6 months on loan. So I love it. It's incredible. Worst case scenario, he sees the bench more than we plan. But, I mean, where Tottenham has been riddled with injuries, I would say more than any other Premier League team, honestly, this entire season. Like,
other than Newcastle.
Maybe other than Newcastle, but even then, it's like Betancourt's out, Pop Sarr has been out, like, all these guys have been out. The list goes on and on. Romero, Van de Ven. We're starting 2 fullbacks in our center back positions for a few games there. Yeah. Like, it was bad.
Yeah, you would.
It was really bad. So to still find ourselves in 5th place, tied on points for 4th with Arsenal, I could not be happier than what I've seen from Tottenham this year. I'm so ecstatic about it. I love what we're doing. Title race, like, I guess, but I mean that's not the point. It's not Conte, it's not Mourinho, this defensive bunker in, play on the counterattack. Like, we are dominating teams. We just dominated Manchester United away. Yeah, the result was 2-2. We lacked some finishing. Well, we had 4 or 5 starters out of our starting 11, and we bossed them around the pitch. So, I mean, I love the way Tottenham's playing. It's been a great Premier League season up and down the table. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. Right now, we're at plus 3,000 odds to win the whole thing. So, Oh,
Maybe drop a bet there.
maybe I'll
He
drop a
might
little bet
make
there.
some
I don't
money.
know. I don't know.
Believe. You gotta
Yeah.
believe, right? That's what Joe Collett has said, right? Your manager. What does he keep saying?
Postecoglou?
Yeah, what does he keep saying? Like I'm not gonna like. He's like dream or something like that. I don't know. Am I
Yeah.
making something up?
I
It's
don't
like, I'm
know.
gonna let him
Probably
dream.
not. I must have missed the press conference though. But yeah,
Yeah,
he was
no.
definitely asked about the title race question, and he goes, "Well, I mean, we're 5 points off first, and we're playing, and we want to win. So yeah, we're in a title race." Like the way he even handles the media is just been
Yeah.
awesome to see too.
He has been great. It's been great as a non-Spurs fan, even to like just watch him. You guys are also heavily linked with Conor Gallagher, which I think would
Yeah.
be a good signing in the midfield. You offloaded some players as well, like Eric Dyer to Bayern, which is a whole other conversation. But let's move on to your crosstown rivals in Arsenal, plus 750 to win the league. They're rumored with strikers Ivan Toney, Joshua Zirkzee. I think he's from Bayern. Are they in the race? Are they out of it now at this point? I mean, what happened to this Arsenal team that looked so good last year? Obviously, they fell off. We know the very, very end. Started the year really, really strong again, but they're on 2 losses in a row now. Only 1 win in the last 5. This could be your time to shit on them if you want, but like seriously, let's talk about Arsenal because
Yeah.
they're falling. They're falling.
Yeah, and I don't think they're out of it. I mean, it's a long season. You have international breaks that come in here and there that can kind of recharge a team and stuff, but they're not looking good. They're definitely not looking good, and the goals need to come from somewhere. Smith Rowe's not playing. He's been upset. There's a little bit of drama there. Jesus says scoring goals is not what he brings to this team, which guess what? Jesus, you're a striker, so you should probably bring that to the team. They need a striker. It's Nketiah's getting pissed because he's like, put me in. Like he's done the best, I think, out of all options up there. Maybe. But yeah, I mean, and you have all the drama at goalkeeper, right? And you just think to yourself as an Arsenal fan, you go, was Ramsdale that bad? Couldn't we have just kept him in there and used the Raya money? And maybe moved other
For
things
something
around to sign a striker, or hell, maybe we get Timo. Like they're linked with guys like Tony that hasn't played football in how long? Like you're gonna get him to come in, and I don't think he wants to. I don't know, but yeah, I don't think Arsenal's out of it. They're having a spell right now that doesn't look good, and I'm not an Arsenal fan, so I can't speak to the other workings in and outs of the club, but. You look up above you and you see Villa playing non-compromising football. I think very much like Tottenham, when they don't win, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'll let you speak about that later. But you look up and you see Liverpool and City, and it's a tough pill to swallow. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure. Right here, like it's so close in points. We'll say they're obviously still in it. All of these teams are in the race. I will say, I wholeheartedly believe that. But yeah, they need a striker who can put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah. If I were them, I would take a punt on Ivan Toney, to be completely honest with you. But for what they've been rumored, Brentford been rumored to want for him, definitely not worth it. It's way too much money for a guy who hasn't played in 6 months at the highest level. Yeah,
but do you go for a Benzema? Do you go for a Benzema?
No, I don't think so. Like, I'm trying to think of someone that would be like good in that role, like, because you want like a bigger striker, right? So they do a lot of wing play, so you need somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net. And like Ivan Toney's like one of those medium-sized dudes, like really strong, can put the ball in the back of the net easily. He seems like a perfect figure for it. Like that's why everybody's connecting the two. But yeah. I don't know. Let's move on to Villa, my club. They're plus 3,500 to win the league. What the hell is that about?
I knew you were going to say something. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I was looking at the odds to win the league. I was like, oh, he's going to get pissed about this.
I already put money down on them, so we'll see when that cashes. They're rumored for a couple things this January, but honestly, we don't need much. If anything. Maybe another striker, but that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. We just signed a 18-year-old right back who's going to go back on loan to Red Star Belgrade, I think. Just one of those, kid signings that you get just randomly. Um, Other than that, I don't know if we're going to be doing any business this January, which definitely worries me. But
Y'all been pretty
I
active
still
though,
think,
in
yeah,
general.
before then, yeah, we're moving things around usually in the summer. We'd like to get our work done early in the summer too. So we still have Buendia to come back, Mings to come back. They had bad knee injuries, so those next year will be like a new signing basically if we don't move on from them. I don't know if we'll get either of them back this year. We'll see, but like we're just solid. I think this is if we don't make like one or two signings, I think we will start to slip a little bit. You've already seen it in the past couple games. We don't even have the Europa Conference League to worry about. So Villa's going to win the league, but I think they're going to start slipping here. And I'm thinking fourth or fifth is where they'll end up this season. But I can't see them like going on like a 3-game losing streak or anything like that. Knock on wood. Like they're just too good and too consistent right now under Unai Emery. They're running into an issue right now though, is where teams are respecting them too much and bunkering, and we can't break it down. Sort of like how Man City gets stuck sometimes where they can't like get through. Not that we're Man City, but it's that same sort of thing where we're like pinning them back in their final third, but can't get that final pass or that final ball in. So I'm sure Unai's cooking up something else to get that going, get the goals back flowing, but I'm loving seeing Villa in third and in second and fighting Liverpool.
It's amazing. I'm so excited. I just go back to us watching Villa playing in the championship promotion playoff game on your laptop in college together, like setting it up on a chair, watching Villa. It's like, are they gonna get promoted? And they lost that game to Fulham. That's when Sesson Young was still there. God, but yeah, to see them, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 5 years, but a lot has changed in the 5 years since being promoted, and we're in and amongst it now. And I hope we stay there. There's moving on to Liverpool, Man City quickly.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of these two, right? Like, if we're all being honest with ourselves here, it'll be one of these two teams. Liverpool, haven't been super impressed with them, but they're still getting results. Man City have just won 3 in a row. They're in full flow, especially with Kevin De Bruyne back with, God, what a performance he put in with the assist and the goal against Newcastle. Just top 5 player in the world, easy. Maybe the best midfielder, probably the best midfielder in the world. Like, he's just so good, and he proved it yet again in that game. What are your feelings with these two teams, Steve? Do you think Liverpool can do it? Man City are the favorites still by a good amount, according to the betting odds. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the thing for me is I've been finding myself watching a lot of Liverpool this season just by chance whenever I turn the TV on and whatnot. And let me tell you, Trent Alexander-Arnold is playing out of his ass right now. He's having a great season. Salah is coming to life again, and it's crazy to think he was rumored to go to the Saudi League for like 200 million pounds, and so Liverpool hopes that they win the league this year because they just turned down a lot of money for this guy. But yeah, Jota is back in the Liverpool squad, and he is the difference maker on this Liverpool team. Jota, a signing from Wolves that just kind of came out of nowhere. And he's so good. Luis Diaz is class. I mean, I talked about it earlier about this Liverpool midfield. They are not supposed to be this good. So, like, I don't see it necessarily stopping. I mean, McAllister, Shabazz, I'm not going to try to butcher that name again. Shabazz. Yeah, like, these guys are performing. And Jurgen Klopp is a great coach, but, also is a great coach. Pep Guardiola. So it's going to be one of these two teams. I'm pretty confident. I guess I hope it's Liverpool. I don't really care. I hope it's Villa, honestly. But no, these two teams are leagues above the likes of respective Villa, Tottenham, United, Chelsea. All like they're They are in their own tier. Every year, right? It just seems City's dominated definitely more than Liverpool has. However, what Liverpool has done is, yeah, they're so solid. They're so solid,
Yeah,
and they don't look like slowing
there's
down either. Honestly, I don't think.
yeah, they'll probably grow into the season, but we know how Man City can be on the second half of the season. They just
Yeah.
get on a roll. They go 15 unbeaten, 20 unbeaten, whatever, and that's basically it. You have to match them. Yeah, Liverpool from here on out, Liverpool has to match Manchester City. That's how I feel, because Man City hasn't played that great in this first half of the season. They're gonna put their pedal to the metal and they are gonna rock and roll the second half. So it's gonna be a fun second half of the season. Both the relegation fight, like we talked about with the points, the potential point deductions, and the title charge for all of these teams.
Yeah.
Going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to run through a couple matches this weekend that'd be fun to watch in the match week 21. Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. Arsenal have won 1 in their last 5 games, like I mentioned, which funny enough is the same for Palace. But Arsenal have won the previous 3 matchups against Palace with a combined score of 7-1. Might be a good one to throw on if you're interested in the title race. Crystal Palace can always surprise people, though. You never know. Bournemouth versus Liverpool. This is an interesting one. Liverpool beat Bournemouth earlier this season, 3-1. But if you remember last year, Bournemouth did beat them 1-0, I believe. And that's after they lost 9-0 to Liverpool earlier in the season, if you remember that crazy game. Bournemouth have won 4 of their last 5, with Areola turning things around since their loss against Liverpool in the first part of the season. Liverpool has Man City on their heels. They cannot slip up like we were talking about. Brighton versus Wolves. Brighton has won the last 4 games in this matchup with a combined score of 16-3, with the most recent losses being the worst, 4-1 and 6-0. Not good for Wolves in this case. Brighton at home, look for an exciting game because Wolves have been playing really well this year, all things considered, after getting screwed by VAR time and time again.
God.
But Brighton can turn anybody over at any moment in time, so that would be a good one to watch. But maybe the best one of the weekend probably is Brentford versus Nottingham Forest, 16th versus 15th. 2 teams trying to stay out of the relegation fight. Forest, like we mentioned, facing a possible points deduction. They need all the points they can get. Brentford's at home in this game. It's going to be an exciting one. Probably a little bitey, probably a little fighty.
Yeah.
Check in to that one. All right. Final segment, Steve. You betcha. We missed it. I know you missed it. It goes without saying we are amateur bettors. We lose a lot of our bets. So this is not betting advice. But we're going to parlay this week. We're going to win it all. Steve, what's your lock for the week?
Yeah, my lock for the week just goes off of Big Boy Brain. Number 6 on the table is playing number 20 on the table. Yes, that's West Ham versus Sheffield United. West Ham is plus 120 odds on the money line to beat Sheffield, and I'm trying to make it not make sense, but I can't. So I'm going to go for West Ham. Yeah, I think Kudus maybe bangs a goal, Bowen on the score sheet. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Sheffield United wins this one, so my money is locked in on that matchup.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think another crazy one that I'm going to go with that I was very surprised, not crazy, it was surprised to see these odds. Nottingham Forest, the game we just mentioned, is plus 295 to win at Brentford. Brentford's current run of form is like 5 or more losses in a row. Nottingham Forest have 2 wins in a row after coming under new management. Especially with this notification of the possible points deduction, they need all the points they can get. I'm seeing a Nottingham Forest win at plus 295. Lock it in. We're hitting this week, folks. We are hitting this week. That has been it for the Supporter Section podcast. We hope you enjoyed our time together today. If you made it this far, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. And please get into the comments. Let us know how you feel about some of the topics we talked about today. From Jordan Henderson to Jose Mourinho, your favorite memories from that, to FFP to whatever it's been, please get in there and let us know. We'll be down there talking with you as well. I've been Brandon Pasnick. He's been Stephen Curl. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.